push record. So welcome everybody. My name is Jean Gribben. I'm the Executive Director of Beads of Courage. Super grateful for everyone that is attending our Designing with the Stars series, and hosted by Katie Hacker. And each show, as you know, I know some of you purchased tickets to more than one event. Thank you again for your generous support. We have an all-star lineup today. Super excited about today's show. I always like to kick off the show by sharing some just information on Beads of Courage. We feel any donor has an opportunity to learn more about our mission, and you can carry forth that knowledge around Beads of Courage and share it with friends and family. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now, and wanted to give you an update. We actually just had our second quarter meeting with all of our staff, and wanted to share some stats with you so you can really see where your donor dollars go. And I love this quote. I think it summarizes our time together today, but it's definitely something that everyone at Beads of Courage emulates as well when we pursue our mission at Beads of Courage. We feel very fortunate to do the work that we do to support children coping with cancer and other serious illness. So this is an interesting map. One thing to share with all of you, we now employ 4 child life specialists at Beads of Courage. They're very talented clinicians who have the expertise and knowledge to provide the arts and medicine programming that we provide at Beads of Courage. It's very exciting for me to have more staff, because as you can see where our programs are located, we now have not just one person trying to oversee all of our programs, but now again 4 amazing child life specialists. So we have successfully divided workload into 3 different regions. So I thought this map might be pretty interesting for you all to see, knowing that you're zooming in to join us today from different parts of the United States. So you can see, and then down below here, it tells you how many hospitals we work with in that region, and then it breaks out all the different programs. So our flagship program, where we give different colored beads to support children going through treatment, we have different bead guides based on that patient population. So we have a hematology oncology program, a cardiac program, a chronic program for kids that are coping with other lifelong illnesses such as cystic fibrosis, diabetes, some rare GI disorders we support, our neonatal intensive care unit program, our burn program, and then fusion is if it's a smaller hospital, often will provide more than one program, and we call that a fusion because they don't have a designated unit, for example, just for oncology or cardiac. And then we also have been piloting just one high-risk labor and delivery program, which has been going very well. These are for moms who are in bed rest for long periods of time, and often their baby will then also be enrolled in our NICU program. So I thought this map would be very interesting to share with you, knowing again that you're coming in to support Beads of Courage, and you can see where we're at. This is a similar map, but different in that it just shows you where we're at, all the different hospitals in the different cities that we're currently running Beads of Courage programs. And again, our organization provides the hospitals with all the materials they need so that the nurses and child life specialists and physicians can just give beads in the moment. So it's really a clinical intervention in how it's provided. Wanted to spotlight a couple programs, just an update. We also have a very fabulous sibling program. So to date, we've supported over 1,000 siblings with our Beads of Courage sibling program, and we've been hosting some virtual events as well to reach the siblings in their home. All the siblings receive a full program booklet and 25 different beads that acknowledge the different things we know that they're coping with by having a brother or sister that's receiving treatment for a serious illness. The other program, this is kind of, I would say, our silver lining from COVID, is that we've been doing a lot of virtual programming with our new program, Bead Strong. And just this year alone, we've already supported 835 young adults and teens with Bead Strong. And we literally mail them the materials, and then a member of our Child Life team will zoom in, just like we're zooming in today, and provide that support. And it's been very successful, and we've gotten really positive feedback from that program. And then 2 new beads that we created this year to further strengthen our bereavement support. So we now have what we call our elephant bead, and this is given to moms and dads who unfortunately a child has died, and it allows them to also give a bead to a member of their tribe that they know they're going to lean into for support during this time of bereavement. And then also another new bead is our feather bead, again, to strengthen our bereavement support. We have a lot of requests, unfortunately, from hospitals that are seeking ways to also further support grieving families. And so unfortunately, the nature of the work, it is a heavy time, and we're just proud that we can give something for these grieving families. So that's a new program development, both the elephant and the feather bead, and we're very proud. And we partnered with an organization called Hayden's House of Healing that provides bereavement retreats. And so it already has a direct outlet also through partnership with this organization. So that was a quick update I wanted to share with you. Again, all of you that support our mission, become experts in who we are and what we do. And we appreciate you sharing our mission with others. Now I'm going to turn it over to Katie, who's going to introduce our fabulous designers, our all-star team, and we'll get started with the show.
All right, thank you so much, Jean. I'm always amazed by the work that you are doing and your team, the whole team, is doing. It's just amazing. And I'm so glad that you're all here today to help support the mission of Beads of Courage and find out a little bit more about it if you don't know, and to share this concept with your family and friends and let them know about it too. We're always looking for ways to get more involved with the community in terms of, just you telling someone that you came to the jewelry making party today and what a great time you had, and that the funds are for Beads of Courage. You never know where that's going to lead on somebody else's journey. So thank you for that. And if your family has been a part of Beads of Courage or your friends, our hearts are with you, and thank you for being with us today. So we have three amazing designers among us. We have Tracy Proctor and also Andrew Thornton and Cynthia Thornton. And Andrew and Cynthia are brother and sister, if you don't know, so that's pretty awesome. They have their very own sibling program going on, I have to say. And we've all known each other in the jewelry making world for a long time. So it's fun to be able to do this together today. And what's going to happen if you haven't participated with us is we'll spend about 15 to 20 minutes with each artist. And they'll lead us through the project that was in your party pack and, tips and tricks. And I'll kind of be asking them questions along the way. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I'm keeping an eye over there. If I don't get to you right away, I will get to you. And if I haven't gotten to you before we're done with that artist, please raise it up again, and I'll be sure to ask your question for you. And then at the end, we'll have just kind of a wrap up. And so it's a lot of fun. It goes really fast, but thank you for setting aside this hour or so with us today. And I hope you had a lot of fun opening your packages. So
a little housekeeping real quick, Katie. Just wanted all our guests to know that they should have received 2 packages. We were anxiously awaiting to get everything out, so we sent it, and then we received Andrew's beautiful package. And so Andrew's kit came as a separate package. So hopefully you all received that. But as part of that, we were just worried if it didn't get there in time. You're a very fortunate group for this show because Andrew got your pendant as well. So you'll have 2 Andrew projects because we did send out the custom wooden pendant that Andrew, with his beautiful artwork, made for us for our Beads, Beer, and Blues Festival. And then we included 2 stones that you can add string on the top there. So thank you.
Very cool. Lots of ornamentation here today. So let's start with you, Tracy. Tracy is the designer, artist, graphics person, jewelry maker extraordinaire at Tierra Cast. Tierra Cast is in Northern California and makes pewter components for jewelry making. An industry powerhouse. Tracy hosts all kinds of things online. So please, Tracy, feel free to give us your information for following you.
Okay. Well, tierracast.com is the website, of course. Our social media presences are TierraCast on Facebook and TierraCast on Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel. all just under TierraCast. And we try to stay pretty active. We've just recently, the last few months, started doing regular Facebook Live jewelry demonstrations, and that has been just really delightful to develop and to start recognizing a lot of the names. Some of you here are people who pop up in our Facebook Lives, and that's been really fun. And once we get those recorded and pulled off of Facebook, we also load them onto YouTube, and we plug them into the inspiration pages of the website. The website, TierraCast.com, has an inspiration section that is just full of downloadable jewelry inspiration. So we always like to make sure people know about that. And
TierraCast has been a big supporter, and you personally have also been a big supporter of Beads of Courage over the years, teaching at our events and providing products for the kids. So thank you.
Yeah, that's been a delight. That year that I taught down in Tucson was just filled my heart with joy. It really did.
Same. Well, show us what we're going to make today.
Okay, I'm going to switch my camera. And the project that you should have received in your kit is our Lazy Zigzag bracelet. It is kind of it's been in our arsenal, is not a good word. It's been in our library for since about 2016, maybe 2015. At that time, we're developing a line of products that were compatible with leather cord and other thicker stringing materials. So this was one of the first kits that we ever made, and it's been just enduringly popular. And so when Katie and I were talking about projects for this event, we both agreed that this one would be a perfect fit. So
yeah, I love this one.
Well, and I like also, Katie, it has a little bit of a Tucson flavor, a little Southwest flavor.
Yeah, it does.
Since our roots go back to Tucson, I like that it kind of fits that a little bit. So
yeah, I use these crimp beads for a lot of things. That's not the right word for them, but
well, we do call them crimp beads.
Okay.
Barrel beads that what we say is that they're all crimpable. And we have a couple more designs in that type of product. Well, actually not a couple, we only have one more. I'm angling for more designs in this type of product because they are proving very, very popular. They're very versatile. They're great for tassels and cords, and they're just really wonderful components. So in your, whoops, I have a bead stuck inside another bead.
oh, this is a perfect time for a tip.
Yes. Because these barrel beads, some of the barrel beads have a 6x2 millimeter opening, and that's so that you can fit 3 strands of 2 millimeter cord or more of a thinner cord. And these ones have a 4x2 opening, so 2 strands of a 2 millimeter cord or more of a thinner one. And then we also have a lot of spacers that have 2 millimeter holes, again, for those larger materials. Every once in a while in this kit, one of these beads gets stuck in there. So just got to pop it out of there. And this is a super, should I give people time they have their kits? I want to make sure everybody has a little bit of time to get their materials out. I don't want to start rushing through anything.
I think it's looking good.
Okay, I'm going to start separating my components out a little bit. So you guys can see what we're going to be working with. We've got the barrel beads, several of the 4x2s and 2 of the 6x2s. We've got some larger spacers. We've got 2 3-hole bars, again, that are made for the cords, so they have the larger holes. And then what we call our classic hook, which is a really fun, large hook closure component. In the materials are also a strand of leather cord. I forget what the total length is, 28 inches. And we're going to be cutting that into 3 pieces. So really the only tools you need to make this are a pair of scissors and a tool for flattening the crimp beads at the end. That can be flat nose pliers, it can be nylon jaw pliers, it can be parallel pliers. These ones are my favorite. I have also flattened these by actually using a bench block and a hammer and just giving them some light taps. So
That sounds fun though.
yeah, that, hammering is always fun. So I am sure, absolutely confident that you guys have a tool on hand for that part of the project. So the first thing we'll do is we'll take this 28-inch piece of cord and we're going to cut one piece that's 14 inches long.
Does it matter how long this bracelet, how you want the finish, how long you want the finished bracelet to be, Tracy?
It's got some extra length built in. So
Okay.
once we get things strung on and start the connecting everything together, there'll be an opportunity to adjust for fit.
Sounds good.
So this, and then the remaining cord, I guess, how long is it? So I'm just going to cut it in half. The instructions say 2 6¼ inch pieces of cord, but really,
It's a half.
we're just going to cut. Now, it's been a very long time since I've made this, so I'm assuming that's going to be just fine that I just cut it in half instead of trimming it to actually 6¼ inches. The next thing we're going to do is line those 3 pieces of cord up together. We're going to put the longest one in the center. And all the cords, actually what we should also do, well, before we start putting everything together, is just pull on those cords a little bit, pre-stretch them a little bit. Leather cord, after you've, turned it into a piece of jewelry, it can get a little stretched out with wear. So I usually do like to pre-stretch mine a little bit. And there's nothing fancy about that process. You're just pulling on it. And so then now we got to realign longest one in the center and the 2 shorter ones on the outside. And then I'm going to take one of those 6x2mm beads and string that onto one end.
Nice.
Yeah, okay, and then I'm reading like I said, it's been quite some time since I've done this, so I'm having to read the instructions right along with you guys. I want that center strand to extend 4 inches past the 2 shorter ones. About, it doesn't have to be exact, but we're going to be knotting, so you don't want to short yourself. Make sure it's about 4 inches. And then this barrel bead, I'm going to slide right up there towards the end. And I'm going to use the parallel pliers. If you don't have a pair of these, either of these will work. What's lovely about these is with a traditional pair of like flat nose pliers, your compression is coming down at an angle. So if you're going to use that, just be careful of your bead slipping. You kind of have to hold it secure. Parallel pliers, the pressure comes down equally along the length. So it just is a nice even pressure in it, just a little easier. Although these do require a teeny bit more hand strength.
I don't use those very much, but they're perfect for that.
They're perfect. And I'm just tucking, before I really get that secure, I'm just tucking my beads or my cord in there so that it's kind of even at the ends. I can go in and trim it off later, but why not start with it as even as possible? So you notice that I kind of came from both sides on that, and you can also, just for extra security, come at it from the other angle too, just so I'm getting good pressure all around.
Nice. So you shouldn't need to use any glue or anything with those guys.
No, not in this case. You could, if you were nervous about that and you wanted to make sure that it was real secure, you could put a little bit of glue in there, but we really don't need to in this case. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is take that shorter, or that centerpiece that's still attached and longer, and we're going to thread that through the bottom loop of that hook. And I'm going to give it about a little over 1/4 inch there of room. And then I'm going to take the tail end of the cord. I'm just going to wrap that around. So I've got a loop there. And then I'm going to thread the tail through the loop and make an overhand knot. The important thing is you want that tail to come back toward the bracelet and not towards the hook. And then I'm just going to tighten that overhand knot. And I hope people are making along and everything's going
It
smooth.
looks like everybody's not everybody, but almost everybody's working along with you. They have their heads down. So
That's awesome.
unless they're texting or something, I think they got it.
With
Oh, someone would like to, Katrina would like to see the knot again, if it's possible.
Sure, let me undo it. There's also a diagram in your instructions. It's a completely simple knot, but because you're kind of threading the tail through like in a counterintuitive way, it can be a little confusing.
So you want to go actually across the loop and come kind
Yeah.
of down through.
Bringing it down, wrapping it around the loop. And then instead of tucking the tail up this way towards the hook, I got to come around and tuck it down the other way.
Nice.
And then just tighten that as secure as you can. And this is where I do want to add a little bit of glue, because I don't want this not loosening or sliding or doing any.
It looks like you're using super glue gel. Is that right?
I am using a Loctite super glue. I like to use super new glue for leather a lot, but I'm not confident that there's much in here. So
Okay.
and it'll be one of those cases where I open it up and wait for the glue to come out. So let's just skip it and go with the Loctite. And I'm just adding a little bit at the where the knot is tied right there. And maybe
Just don't glue your fingers together. That stuff is
Yeah.
serious.
don't glue your fingers together. You could also use hypo cement here probably. E6000 would be a little bit gloopy, but hypo cement would probably be okay. And I'm not going to trim that yet. I'm just going to leave it because I want to give it time to dry. And now we're ready to start stringing on the rest of our materials. And I'm making sure I don't have glue on my hand there, Katie.
I know.
So I'm taking one of those 3-hole bars and I'm stringing that onto the 3 cords.
So just make sure your cords are parallel.
And I'm just
Okay.
going to slide that down to that first barrel bead.
That's clever because it helps maintain the spacing across the whole bracelet. Sometimes when you do this type of thing with alternating cords and beads like this, it can sort of twist up on itself.
Yeah. So now I have to remember what the beading pattern is. I think that the largest nugget bead is going onto the center cord. And then, let's see, spacer bead onto the center cord. And then I start alternating these 4x2 barrel beads. I'm going to string that on the center cord and the upper cord. Bring it up. And I'm going to add another one of the spacer beads onto the center cord. And then I'll take another one of those 4x2s and string that onto the center cord and the lower cord. And then you can start to see how the pattern will go and how that will zigzag. And then I'm just going to repeat that with all the rest of the beads.
Nice. So you could do this with any type of bead that has a large enough hole over one cord and then use these barrel beads as your connector beads.
You could. That is a good thing to mention, Katie. It would be fun to use, any kind of large hole gemstone beads here, or if you have some of those, is it size 2 seed beads that are quite large and they're they can be very colorful. Those might be fun on the center.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I'm going to move that because I suspect it's adding some unnecessary glare. You'll see that I missed one of the spacers. That happens when I'm talking and demoing at the same time. I miss stuff a lot.
It always turns out, 9 times out of 10, you just go with it.
You catch it, hopefully. Sometimes you don't. But I'm really kind of fond of saying, when I'm demoing and I make some little error, I say, do as I say, not as I do. And then
I thought you were going to say that it's not brain surgery or rocket science one. It's jewelry. It's for fun.
it's jewelry. This has probably had enough time to dry, so I'm just going to trim that tail off. So where am I? I've got a barrel bead, which means it's time for another spacer. And you have enough beads here where that's 6 times. You're going to be repeating that little sequence 6 times.
Looking good.
Yeah, coming together.
It's actually quite relaxing watching.
It is. This
Like
could be the new
meditative.
ASMR.
Just
It
a
is.
repetition.
I think, Jean, one time we had a conversation about how stringing beads really does light up that circuit reward system in your brain, and it really does have a systemic healing effect. And I take that pretty seriously when I get in the zone. You know, I can feel that that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree. Once you've got all of your beads strung, then you're going to pick up that second 3-hole bar and string that on the cords. And slide it up. And so this is where you can kind of estimate your size. So we've got all of the beads strung. We've got the 3-hole bar. I'm going to go ahead and add the 6x2 barrel bead too, just because then you can really see the finished design. And this is where you will adjust for size. So you will
just leave enough at the end that you fold it back, that you can fold it back to catch the loop.
You're going to be tying another one of those knots. If you can see that, it's small, but you're going to be tying another one of those knots without attaching a hook. So that becomes the loop for the hook.
Okay.
So let's see. My instructions, and sometimes I don't trust what I wrote, but then I have to remember, okay, I wrote it for a reason. What I want according to what I wrote is that I want the 2 spacer bars to be about 5 inches apart. And I think what's going to happen then is that's going to end up being about a 7.5-inch bracelet. So, or maybe a little longer, maybe about an 8-inch bracelet. So there you can see, this is where you decide how long you want your bracelet to be. If you have a small wrist, you might want these to only be about 4.5 inches apart. I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to go with that because I do have a small wrist and I don't think I have one of these at home. So I think that I'm going to keep this one. So I've got that spread out about 4.5 inches. I've got my second 6x2 barrel bead on there and I'm going to come in and just go ahead and crimp that.
So our next party, I think we should do the jewelry box reveal with all of our favorite instructors. You just gave me an idea, Tracy. We want to know what else you have at home that you've made.
This is also where, before you crimp this, make sure that your cords are all equal. Make sure that that they're straight and kind of aligned before you crimp down that second barrel bead.
Are you looking for the outside cords to be straight or all?
You just want it, well, this center one, because
it's going to kind of wavy, right?
Right, okay. It's going to have that little, what we call, that's how we came up with the name of the bracelet, the lazy zigzag, is because they kind of had this wavy little zigzag going on.
Mm-hmm.
So then mine is secure. At this point, I can trim off those, actually, I'll use my flush cutters. I can trim off those outer ones. Make sure you don't accidentally trim off your long one, because that is going to be your loop for your hook. And then I'm going to fold this into a loop. And it just needs to be big enough to fit that the ball of the hook. In a pinch, you could adjust the length of this loop as desired. If you decided that at this point you needed a little extra length on your bracelet, you could certainly make that a longer loop. But generally you just need it to be barely a 1/2 inch, maybe.
So as you're finishing up, just measure again and make sure.
And so our knot is the same. I'm wrapping that around and coming through the loop from the non-intuitive side and tightening that down.
And then you can add your glue.
And then I'm gonna add a little glue.
I love this bracelet and all the different ways that you could interpret it with the beads that you have.
You could
It's a
have
great idea.
a lot of fun with different large hole beads to add some color. So now what we want to do here is, we can move that shiny ruler out of the way again, is spread these barrel beads along the body of the bracelet, spread them out evenly so that they're kind of nicely spaced. How's my time, Katie?
You are done, lady.
Oh,
That's
oh,
amazing. 20-minute bracelet.
oh, here we go. Got to give these little barrel beads here now just a little bit of a crimp to anchor them in place. And then you're right, we're done.
That is awesome. Nice work. So cool. Love to hear in the comments what you all think about this. And if you have any more questions for later. And if you finished yours,
I feel like I should throw my arms up in the air.
yeah, do it. Do that thing where you just shake your arms long so you can,
Right,
oh, woo. It's like speed beating.
right.
Thank you so much, Tracy. That is awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next up, I see Mr. Andrew Thornton in my next window. So Andrew, it's all you. Andrew is the
Hello,
owner of
everyone.
Allegory Gallery with William Jones, and they're located in Pennsylvania. And Andrew, you've been making art in a lot of different ways for your whole life. What do you think draws you to jewelry making?
Well, the story of me getting involved with jewelry, at least on a professional level, is actually my sister. When my niece Azalea was born, I wanted to spend time with them and take a year to help raise her. So I moved from New York, where I was going to school at the School of Visual Arts. And I was working on my BFA in Fine Arts and Mixed Media. And so while I was there, they needed help at a show. And I said, okay. And I figured that if I was going to do anything for them, that I should actually know what I'm talking about, you know, if I'm trying to sell it. So I started making projects, and that's how I got involved in the bead world. And then shortly after I started working and developing my own kind of style, I started working freelance, designing projects for Stringing Magazine. And that's kind of, this project is kind of a nod to those days because it's all stringing. And so I'm super excited to share that today.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being with
Yeah.
us, and thank you for everything you do to promote Beads of Courage.
Yeah, thank
It's
you
my
so much,
pleasure.
Andrew and William.
Yes.
Yeah, we love you guys. And we really believe that the mission of Beads of Courage is such a powerful one. And you might not realize it unless it's happened to you, but there are so many people who are around you. Even in our small town of 1,500 people, there are several different kids who have gone through the program. So it's been such an honor and a privilege to be a part of this in my own little small way, and to be a part of people's journeys as they navigate healing with art.
Yes.
So
indeed.
who's ready?
We are ready. We are so ready.
You're ready, set, go?
Ready,
all
set,
right.
go.
So today's project, we're gonna flip over, if we can do it, if you can, yep, that's the one. We're gonna flip over to this one, and I'm gonna do a quick little demo. And because the beads are so tiny, I figure unless you've got like a bionic eye, like, you know, $6 million man, we might need to do a little bit of some creative demoing. Let's see.
That's okay. Creative demoing is good.
So this is my crimp tube. It's definitely not a toilet paper roll from hoarding pandemic style.
I love your
Um,
attention to detail with the color there.
Well, I had some silver paint on my hands before we started. That may or may not have been what I was looking at while Tracy was doing her wonderful demo. And this lovely Kumihimo braid is going to be our flexible beading wire. Now in your kit, you have everything you need to make your project except for the tools. And for today's project, we're going to need cutters, flush cutters of your preference. And we're also going to need crimping pliers. Now, normally, I've seen a lot of times when people will get a crimp and they just squash it flat. And that's the way a lot of people start making their jewelry. Just squash that crimp tube down and you're ready, set, go. And that's really a wonderful way if it's not structural. But having this store for 10 years now, and that's Allegory Gallery. If you are not familiar with us, we are located in Ligonier, Pennsylvania, and we've been open for 10 years. One of the #1 repairs that we do in the shop is when the little end of your crimp or your beading wire comes and falls out because the crimp tube was just squashed. So if you want your jewelry to last a long time, invest in some crimping pliers. I know there's a couple different kinds out there. I know that Softlex, they make a wonderful tool called the Magical Crimper, and that works really well. But this is the one that I go to when I make my own jewelry. So that's what I'm going to show today. And what it is, basically, there's 2 ways that we're going to use our crimp tubes. We've got our fancy demo tube right here. And what we're going to do is for the crimp tube or the crimping that we're going to start off with is we're going to pass the wire through this way, one way, and then we're going to pass it back through the other way. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a nice little ring for us. Now later on, what we're going to do is we're going to do something different. But what we're going to do is, here you go, you've got your nice pliers, and I'm going to try to zoom in on that so you can see it. You've got 2 little notches. You have the one closest to your hand and you have the one closest to your tip. What we're going to use is the one closest to our hand first. And what that does is, I call it, it's going to make the taco. And what that does is it squeezes it like that and it makes an indentation. Now, one thing we want to make sure is that our wires are on either side of our taco. We don't want our wires to cross inside the taco because guess what? They could cut inside and then the sadness begins. And then what we're going to do is once we have the taco, we're going to have to close that taco up. You don't want all your goodies to spill out. So you turn your taco on the side and then using the notch closest to the tip of the pliers, you're just going to squeeze this shut and you're going to give it a little extra loving and go around it a little bit, maybe not too much, just right. And then that's going to make it nice and secure. And that is going to really hold it solid. And if you do it right, it's going to be nice and clean and lovely, and it's not going to look chewed up. Don't ask me how I know that, or do, because I've done
experience.
that. Years and years of experience and chewing up some crimp tubes on my own. So that's the way that I like to crimp, and it works delightfully. So let's do that. So included in your kit, you've got this strand of flexible beading wire. This is medium gauge beading wire, and it's the one that I go to all the time. There's a lot of different brands out there. I like Softlex, but if you like Beadalon or Tiger Tail or whatever is your flavor, just as long as it's got a nice bendability to it and nice drape. I feel like that's if you pick out a nice strong one that has a nice drape to it, then you're going to be golden. Now, included in your kit, there's a little piece of wire, and you're going to be like, what in the world is this piece of wire for? I'm going to adjust this a little bit lower so you don't see my knees all up in here. We're going to focus on the beads. not my ashy knees. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our little piece of wire, and you've got these antique seed beads. These are opalescent seed beads that are French, and they are from probably around 1950 or so, maybe earlier. And the thing about old beads is everybody likes to think that they're all going to be nice and pretty and delightful all the time. But the truth of the matter is that just like people, sometimes beads get a little crusty. So if there is anything inside of your holes, this wire will be your friend, and you can just go and put that in there and clean out your holes, and that will be delightful.
So you
And
don't even need a bead reamer. You can just use this to knock out any crud that's in there.
Yeah, so most of it, what it is it's bead release. And that's how they get it to not stick. And then what I've done before I sent these out is I took a strainer and I washed them out and tried to prepare them as best as possible. But you know what? Sometimes life happens and you gotta unplug your holes, yo. So that's what we did. So the first thing we're gonna do.
Kathy says that she loves this tip. Two Kathys. One loves the tip. Also, very well done demo. Best crimping demo ever. Brilliant job, Andrew.
Well, thank you. I wish I could take credit for it, but I think that goes back to our friend Jamie Hogsett. She was demoing from Stringing Magazine, or they might have used a pool noodle because they might, I can't remember. Anyways.
Both are good.
So go ahead.
Both ones of those ideas are good, but I'm sorry I interrupted.
Oh, feel free. Otherwise, you gotta have to have sharp elbows and pop me out of the way.
I can't reach you to tap you on the foot.
I know. We were saying before we started recording that during the first taping of Beads, Baubles, and Jewels, Katie was trying to give me a cue to shut my pie hole, and she tapped me on my foot with her foot, and I thought she was just getting close, and so I started edging away. Eventually I was outside of the frame, and of course she was very good and told me that she was going to do it, but I was so nervous the first time that I was like, why is she touching me? Don't touch me. But here we are, just a few years later, not 10
Let's
or
go
more.
with a few.
All right. So if y'all are not enthralled by our stories of the old time filming, what we're going to do next is we're going to string on one of our crimp tubes, and then we're going to pick up 5 of our opalescent seed beads. And I just love these seed beads. They are my favorite. Well, no, they're not, but they're up there, you know. Anything that's kind of, you know, glowy. You know, I try to do that for my face and make myself all nice and glowy, but usually that turns into acne. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to string on one of these star charms, and then what we're going to do is slide that down, and then we're going to pick up 5 more of our opalescent seed beads. I may or may not have pre-poked the holes out on some of these seed beads, but you know what? I also gave you extra just in case. You know, you can just kind of pick and choose, or if you like drop it on the floor and you have shag carpeting, you don't have to you know, play seek and find. You can just use the extras. So first you're going to do your crimp tube, 5 seed beads, and then your star charm, and then 5 more seed beads. So there you go. This is going, and you're gonna be like, why are we doing this first? Well, I gave you this one long piece of wire so that you could work off of this. And that way, you know, you don't have to have all these little miniature slices of wire. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pass the end of our flexible beading wire back through our crimp tube. And because I'm frugal, I'm not gonna go all the way. I'm not gonna just like go, you know, keep going. I'm gonna just put it a couple millimeters through, and then I'm gonna hold that secure and then pull that nice and tight. so that I've got, you know, I'm not going to waste all the wire, but I'm also going to make this nice and secure. And then what I'm going to do now is, before I let go of this, I'm going to give it a little bit of a bounce test. And I don't want it to be super rigid. And I don't want this to be pulled so tight that it's an eye shape. I want this to be nice and round, like a bead. And basically what we're making is a beaded jump ring. And the reason why I decided to do that is because I think it adds a nice little bit of texture. And also, if you wanted to have an alternative to just jump rings, this is a great way of making a beaded jump ring. So we're going to go and do what I just demoed with the crimp tube. And one thing you can do is work your, before you go and use your He-Man or She-Ra strength to crush it down. Get that plier in there nice and good, and wiggle it around a little bit so it doesn't crunch any of your antique seed beads. And then just make your taco, turn that taco on the side, close that taco up, and then we're gonna get our little cutters, go in there, nestle them nice and tight in that little groove there. Don't cut the main one, because then you're going to have to do this again, and I didn't put extra crimp tubes, so you're gonna have to raid your stash, which, you know, it's not the end of the world. And if you wanted to and make this extra fancy, give yourself a little extra room, and then you can put a crimp cover over that if you want. All right, so all you have to do to get that ready is repeat that. In theory, I made these in advance so that you all didn't have to watch me, but then I promptly lost it and my dragon hoard of beads. So we're just gonna have to chat while I do it again, and then, you know, talk about our lives and our hopes and aspirations and our dreams of one day being prepared and on time for things.
It's a
One
beautiful
day
dream.
for me. I know, one day.
You
I
don't have to
aspire
make them
it.
all though, Andrew. I don't think you do.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
I think if you want to show
we'll
us,
skip it.
yeah, you don't have to. I think, unless, if you guys, if you have questions, just throw it up in the chat, okay? But I
Yeah,
think, what were you gonna say?
just put the rewind and watch it,
Yeah.
and then you'll be just like, oh,
Oh, that's
wow.
what he did. I love those
Then
beaded
you'll,
rings, you know? I think it's fun
yeah,
because, especially, let's say you buy a really beautiful strand of something, one thing, and you want to just string it up quickly, but you want to add a little dimension, you could do that, you know, just by making these
yeah.
little beaded rings would be really cool. So,
And if you have like a lot of time and patience, if you fill an entire necklace full of this, there's an African technique that I believe it's oh, I'm not going to get the right tribe, but they do that, but they don't use, they use a rigid wire, but make loops like that, but beaded loops. And if you fill it, stuff it full, you know, double stuff it like an Oreo and just go wild and put like thousands of it, it looks awesome.
that would be
We don't
cool.
have time for that today. So we're just going to do this one, and then you're going to watch that on replay and then pretend like I did it twice.
One of the
right.
questions is, can you add these elements later, or do they have to be added while stringing?
The reason why you want to do them first is when you string these up, there's a trick so that they stay in place. You'll notice with the sample that they don't all cluster to the center. They actually stay where they're put. And so you do have to have your rings first. If you don't, then you know, you're gonna have to stop and then make, and then stop and then make. And since you've only got this one piece of wire, like that's your last piece of wire, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you can't go to the craft store, it's closed. Even online, Amazon's not going to save you. So you just got to do these 3 first, and then go to the main event, which is the bracelet. But
It would
since
be
we're
hard to
pressed
get
for,
in there with your crimping pliers too. If you made the beaded ring after your bracelet is already strong, you wouldn't really be able to do it the right way. Is that right?
yeah, it'll be different. You know, you can do it, but it might look different. So
Okay.
you do you, and nobody's going to judge you. And if they do, then you know what? They can make your bracelet. All right, so here's your crimp tube. You're gonna be like in love with crimp tubes if you aren't already, because this is like crimp tube nation up in here. So string on your crimp tube, and then string on all your bright metallic fire polish. I believe there's 4mm fire polished, and you're just gonna string all of those bright shiny ones on. Now there are a little darker ones in there, but we're gonna save those for the main part of the bracelet. And so you're like, whoa, he's stringing. Look at him go. It's like the Olympics in slow motion, you know, when they do the shot. So then we're going to take our end of our wire, pass that back through our crimp tube. And if you want, here's a trick. Hold all that business in place with your thumb and forefinger, and then slide the crimp tube. And then that way you don't have to play like, you know, you don't have to chase it around. You can just all hold it in place. And then once you're ready to close it up, switch the fingers like so, just twist it around, and then get your crimping pliers. So then the notch closest to your hand, then turn that taco on the side, close it up, and there you go. And this is gonna form your loop for your closure. So it's a beaded loop, more texture, more fun. And if you wanted to, you could put a crimp cover on that, but you don't have to. So the next thing in the pattern is one darker metallic black fire polish. And then we're gonna get a 6mm, 2 8mm of the clear AB finish check glass. And then another dark check glass. I saw a question pop up.
It's just me saying, you're doing great.
Oh, thanks. Usually I'm the one that says that. You're doing great. All right, so then we're gonna string on 2 more of the 8mm. And then here's the tricksy part. We're gonna put on that 6mm, and then we're gonna go and get that, that beaded loop that we made in the very beginning. You probably don't even remember, it's been so long ago. And we're gonna put that on and slip that on. And that's gonna slide right over your 6mm bead. And then you're gonna go back and string the 8mm bead on either side of this. So 2 more of this. And then that way, look at it, it's like magic. That's not gonna go anywhere.
Nice.
Whoa.
So if you were designing your own bracelet with beads that you have at home, you would just want to measure the number of seed beads that it takes to make one ring to fit over your 6mm bead or whatever size you use.
Definitely. So this also, we gave you extras so that in case you need, in case your wrist is larger, you can always extend your bracelet, and you have a little bit of extra, just a smidge extra wire to do that. If your wrist is smaller, you can always take out some of these 8mm ones, not the ones on either end of the 6mm, because that's the one that's going to help you. There's stop beads to prevent it from, you know, sliding down the mountain. So
hey, Andrew, before you go on, can you go back and just recap what you've done so far? We're going to have this on the replay, but just so that people get really solid on how to begin. You have the beaded loop at the beginning, and then, you know, kind of go back to and just point us through what you showed us.
Okay. So the first thing we did is we made this beaded loop with our seed beads. We strung on 1 crimp tube, 5 of our seed beads. If your seed bead holes are clogged, you've got this handy dandy wire that you can clean them out with. String 5 of these, 1 of your charms, 5 more seed beads, close up that loop, set those aside. You'll be making a total of 3 of these loops. And then what you're going to do is, once you've made your loops, you're going to string on 1 of your crimp tubes, and then you're going to string on all of your shiny metallic fire polish beads. I believe there's 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, there's 9. So I'm out of, oh, there's the 10th one. It's okay. We'll save that for later. You don't even know about that, whatever. Then we pass that back through our crimp tube, close up our I was like, that's shorter, isn't it? Well, there you go. All right, so pass that back through, close it up. Then what we're gonna do is our pattern. Our pattern is one metallic black fire polish check glass bead, one 6mm, two 8mm, one dark, two 8mm, one 6mm. And then before we put on this big one over here, we're gonna slip on that beaded loop that we made in the beginning. So the next
Perfect.
thing, so there you go, recap. Y'all don't even need me. We're just, there you go.
Well, we can see on your finished bracelet there, then you repeat your pattern
Yes.
twice
And then
more.
just twice more.
All right.
And then all you do once you're ready to, I don't want to hog Cynthia's time. She's going to be like, yo, click with the gas and go. So all
Don't
you,
worry, mine
all
is
you
fast.
do what?
She
Mine's
says, don't
fast.
worry.
Oh, yours is fast. Okay, I'll slow down. I'm a slow talker, so y'all can enjoy.
You don't have to go too slow.
Too slow. I'll regulate that. All right. It's like driving with me. Too fast, too slow. All right. So in theory, where I've left this blank spot here, that's where we'd put on our extra beaded loop. But you know what? Sometimes you only feel like one. So if you want to put just one, just go and put one. That's the beautiful thing about stringing, is that if you don't like something, you can take it apart, and before you put that crimp tube on, you're not committed. You're not getting married to it. You can change your mind. You know what? And guess what? Even if you do change your mind, you know what? They got these things called cutters. You can cut that apart and then just start over. Though, if you do start over, you're gonna have to get your own flexible beading wire, because you can only start over so many times before you run out of wire. And I personally, I like to be generous with myself with the wire, because when I first started making jewelry, I was kind of stingy with it, and I was like, whoa, I must save every penny. And then I was like, I don't like stringing. And then it was because I was trying to force that 2mm end tail back into that crimp tube, and and it would take me about 45 minutes just to put that in there and get the pliers out, and I would grip my teeth and trying to put that in there and use the powers of my mind. And so, that you could save yourself some stress, you don't have to stress.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun, huh?
Yeah, not a, if you feel yourself clenching up and you have to, take a break or do something, I don't know. Anyway, so here's your thing. I'm going to finish this off. You can adjust this however long you want it. If you need to take out beads, add beads, you'll be fine. But to do it is pretty simple. All you do is you pick up one of these metallic beads and one of these crimp tubes, go into there on the end of your lobster clasp. And if you wanted to, you could also use what are called wire guards, and those work as well. So slip that back through. I gave myself an extra long tail with that, but I'll save that for the beaded loops later. And then once I got that on there, all you do is, remember, the notch closest to the hand, make that taco, turn that taco on the side, close that taco up with a notch closest to the tip, and there you go.
Great
You're
job.
done. I'm a winner.
You're a winner. Good job,
And
Andrew.
then there you go. Good job. Good job.
Looking
Good
good.
job.
Looking
Good job,
good.
Katie. Good
And
job.
thank
There
you for
go.
educating us about all those beads along the way. That was fun.
It's my pleasure.
Awesome. All right.
There you
Well,
go.
I hope you are all having fun making. We have one more project with Cynthia. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Kathy says that she loves that you're not getting married to it. You can just keep, making it your own. I love that too.
You can have whatever commitment level you're happy, you're satisfied.
You're comfortable with. Sounds good. Well, Cynthia, I can see you've been working away over there.
Oh, yeah. I'm one of those people that I do not like to have idle hands. So I've been making some of these components. And
Nice.
if you guys ever seen the work that I make, like my finished jewelry, you can see there's a little bit of that flavor of antique beads. Like I love antique jewelry and like Egyptian type things, like way back. And some of those elements, they had some primitive ways of putting charms and beads onto their necklaces. And that's where those loops come in. You've seen those little beaded and wire bead loops. Well, you can see those on like Roman jewelry and earrings and on bracelets. And what they would do is they'd take gold wire and put a bead through and then just make a quick wrap. And then that was it. Just trim it and put it on. And then they'd have all these little dangle dangles. And I always loved that. It had something like this sort of element of spontaneity, maybe, or it just looks kind of decorative. But it's a good way if you don't have, like me, I'm always misplacing that bag of head pins. This is something that, for me, it is the bane of my existence, is finding that bag of head pins. Or actually, I have a box of bags of head pins.
Yeah.
And it's always somewhere when I'm not using them. So this is one of those things I'm like, you know what? This works and I like it. And I don't have to try and melt. If you've ever made head pins where you're sitting there with a torch and then it just drops onto the ground, it's no fun. So I'm going to show you this necklace. Let me flip my camera. Let's see if I even know how to do that. I don't have Azalea in here helping me. You'd think I'd have this done by that time of learning. Okay. Ignore the legs of my stand. Adjust that. So in your kit, can you
Go
guys
ahead,
hear
I'm
me?
sorry. Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm just making sure. Usually, I'm surprised. I haven't gotten kicked off the internet or anything.
Yay.
I know.
Knock
I
on
know.
wood.
I'm happy.
It's our lucky day so far.
It has been lucky for me. Usually I accidentally come off or, you know. So this is what I was talking about.
The
See those
rings.
loops?
I didn't know that about Egyptian jewelry. That's cool.
Yeah, look at that. Byzantine, Roman. They didn't know about head pins.
And
Or
what a
maybe
great
they
way to
did. I
use
just
your
didn't see it.
component too. For people who don't know you, the Green Girl Studios, you create those the big ring in the center of the necklace.
Oh
there.
yeah, this is what we make. We make pewter findings, silver findings. Here's one from an order. That's one of mine. That's a bronze piece.
Pretty.
We make all kinds of things, mostly animals and different creatures. So while everybody was talking and I was listening closely, I was making these. So sometimes you can make these loops and not put them on anything, and they can be strung on other things later. Or you can take one that you're using that's like this. Let me see if I can get my hand under I've set this up so that now it's like I can't even get into it. All right, here we go. So once you have this loop part here, you can hook it up to either more of these and make a chain or onto this. So I'll show you how to do these first. So
What
in your
gauge wire
kit,
are you using?
this is 24 bronze wire, jewelry wire. I like bronze. It has a little bit better color, I think, than brass. And it seems like it's a little less wavy gravy. You know, kind of some of the wires have that like work hardening, I guess. It's like that's half hard and soft. This seems to be in between. It's kind of a soft, easy to maneuver, yet not so soft as to not hold its shape. So in your kit, you got this length of wire, and here's some of those beads right in there.
Is this a
So
mixture
one
of gemstones that you have?
Yeah, that was just some of the ones. I found beads that I liked that I got from Andrew that had larger holes. You can see that these have a pretty good sized hole. And one of the reasons this technique works great with, say you have, and this is one of the reasons I like this too, is you have a really fancy strand of opals. And you're like, oh my God, I got to ration these. And you have a couple of really flashy ones. And also the hole is super small. You can use a finer gauge wire that's like 26 or 28 and make really small loops. I call it a loop, but it's a circle. So what you want to do, let me clear this away. is take your wire here, measure out by looking at your bead. This isn't really a scientific way, like there's no, I'm trying to do this by looking through my camera. I got a new phone and I'm not even really sure what I'm doing with it. I usually like to,
Experimenting.
yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it's experiment. Well, I just want to make sure it's in focus.
Yeah,
So there,
I can see that pretty well. If anybody can't, let us know.
yeah, I think it's not fuzzy. All right, so one of the things is you can use is a pen or some kind of pencil if you feel like you need it, or like these pliers, they have that little bit of a round. I use my fingers. This stuff is soft, so you don't have to get in there with anything, any special tools, except for the cutting time. So your length of your loop is not determined by anything except what you're comfortable using. My cat is like dragging at my skirt. She's making me a little crazy. So,
The pets want to be a part of it. Heidi is asking if the wire is strong enough to lightly hammer it on the sides after you've wrapped it together, just for some extra texture.
yeah, it is. I'll get
Okay.
to that. That's
Okay.
next. So here we have this. This is where that loop term comes from. So you'll just bend it. I usually like to use about 1/4 of an inch on either side. I don't know if you can see that very. So I'll make one right now without putting it on anything. I'll just make one of the components, and then
Okay.
you guys can see how that goes. So you can either choose to use like these types of pliers. These are my favorite pliers from Xuron. I don't know what this is called.
That is the bent chain
was the-
nose plier.
Okay, so chain nose. So you'll want to, I'm trying to brace my hand to make sure it is even. All right, you don't have to use pliers. Sometimes you can use, like, I'll just use my fingers. But I also have really strong, tough fingers. So if you don't have that, then use these and you can get in there and twist around. This kind of makes like a decorative, like it kind of reminds me of a ribbon.
Ooh.
And right now it's a little bit kind of funky shaped, but that's okay. This wire is soft. And if it was like really hard and stiff, you'd have to go in and use like old rods or something, or like a jump ringer. You know, they have those little dowel rod jump ringer things. I'm going to go the opposite direction on this side. And if you want, you can just go like this. Get in there. This one is really kind of messy because it's hard to look through the screen and do it with the other hand. Right, so what you want to do is make sure those little tails, they're kind of tucked down. You don't want these sticking up and making it sharp on your clothes. All right, so then what you do, after you have your component, your wire ring made, fix the shape a little bit. Make it, you know, it's right now it's really loose and squishy. Well, not super loose and squishy, but it's like, it's easy to manipulate. So then what you want to do, after you get the shape and you're happy with it, and say you want to use, you can use little pliers to kind of, or even like a pencil to help get your shape, to bend it around. So it's kind of like a dowel rod. And once it's in the round shape, take a flat pliers and smash your wire. This will give it not only the shape, but this will give it a little bit of firmness. So you're compressing the wire down, and that also will give you, see how that, it looks sort of flat faceted, I guess is the word. It looks faceted, flattened. Now, if you have hammers, you can go in and hammer them. I often think about doing that, but I never do it. It's just easier to do this. And it's less noisy. Sometimes you
And,
can go in on top of this and flatten it a little bit too.
and you don't have to worry about breaking your bead. If you're just using pliers rather than hammering, you might get a little too close and crack it or something.
Right. If you get a little too enthusiastic with hammering, you can break it for sure.
So if you want to
So-
make these on the ring, it's the same process. You just capture it inside.
Right. So here I'll show another one. This one I just started. So we'll pretend like I just started out from that. And I'm gonna raise the camera a little bit to make sure it's in. And I already added one. So
Are you intentional about the size of rings that you're making?
you know, you can do pretty much any size you want, but you have to be aware that if you make great big ones, like these ones need a little bit bigger of a loop. I prefer to make them a little smaller just because they don't get bent out of shape as much, but they're pretty easy. I mean, I've been wearing this necklace around for like a month and it looks pretty much the same to me. So if you can get it where you make several sizes, it looks better. You see how they can intertwine? And one of the things you can do is you can add the beads to the links. And so you can just make a chain of them. And that looks really cool too. But this has a kind of a free floating feel, like
Yeah, and you're not
it's a
necessarily
charcoal.
graduating them, like with the biggest one in the center, smallest ones on the outside. They're kind of a
No,
mixture.
they can just, there is no rhyme or reason to it. I just put them
Oh,
on
I
there.
see.
See, this small one has kind of a big ring. Really what you want to do is just kind of just make it and have fun with it. I just basically turned my brain off and just made these. I just thought it looked really pretty with this, like how if you smash the loop a little bit around the edge, you can pick if you want to make it a tight coil around the edge or more of a spread out. It doesn't really matter. They're not going anywhere. You can make them like really perfect wire wraps and go in and on each side, but it's kind of unnecessary. I mean, if you've got those skills, then by all means, you can do it.
Or maybe this is just one where you relax, like you said. Your brain makes really cool stuff when it's on autopilot.
Oh, thank you.
I like your octopus there, Kraken. What is that guy? That's so cool on the
That's
ceramic
just
dish too.
that's just a little. I went through a ceramic phase, and I like to hand paint ceramics. That I can't throw a pot to save my life. I mean, if someone had a gun to my head and it was like a ghost situation, you know that movie Ghost where you're
Yeah.
kind of you have somebody helping.
So you
know,
need Patrick Swayze, is
still.
that what you're saying?
Just can't make a pot, but I can build one. I can build one faster than someone could make it on a wheel, I think. Now I say that, and that's probably not true, because I've seen people make pots really fast.
Well, mostly it's not a race, I guess.
No, it's not. But I guess if you're like, I don't know, people are like, Cynthia, you could totally sell that. And I was like, yeah, that kind of took a while. And oh, here's another thing. If you don't make it too tight at first, your loop, you can kind of squeeze it. See how you can kind of squeeze that?
So
And
sort of
adjust
squish
it.
it down.
Yeah, see how it's like.
This is the ultimate fidget necklace right here. You fidget while you're making it, you can kind of fuss with it, and then once it's already made, you can play around with the rings.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't have like really, if you use like sterling or fine silver wire, if you want to make it like really nice, you can put, you can just keep adding to this, you know. I was gonna suggest that making this with mixed metals would be fun, you know, so you can have, you don't have to, you're not stuck with one style of wire if you have it. And it would be fun with those new anodized, I guess they're anodized, I don't know, those new colorful wires I've seen come out. This
And
is a good
maybe
project for
scrap,
that.
you know, a way to use up scrap wire. All the wire is too short to save.
Oh, you know, I save mine like that. I totally save my wire in bags. And sometimes this is good for that because if you have, sometimes I'll put on a really fancy pair of earrings. I have this strand of diamonds that are kind of rough, earthy kind of color.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of money on that strand, but boy, they did add a little bit of sparkle. So I'll add them to my earrings, one or two. And on a head pin, I feel like they are kind of diminished, like they don't have as much presence. But this is kind of like a way to showcase the bead. You know what I mean? It's not so
Yeah.
close up. When you have it like tucked in, I feel like they're all sort of, they have a different movement. It has its own place, I think. I'm not saying you should not use a jumper or a head pin, but if you want something a little more decorative, this is a good way to go. You just want to make sure you tuck in. See that piece that's sticking out? You'll want to go in and make sure it's tight on.
I feel like all of the ideas today have been about using components in a different way and kind of looking at your design in a different way and how you can change things up easily just by turning it sideways or using a ring instead of a head pin. There's all kinds of creative ways
And
that you can.
also, you don't have to make this completely symmetrical, or like this top part has to be on the top, or like this has to be there or whatever. I'll sometimes move them so that it's part of the actual design.
Not so symmetrical.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be symmetrical.
Nice.
I think when you start out as a jewelry maker, it's easy to make everything symmetrical. That's like the first instinct, is to line everything up and make things symmetrical. But I've noticed as I get to be a more mature jewelry maker and I learn new things to build on my skills, I find that I'm less interested in making things perfectly symmetrical or lining up or following a color code or just rules, basically. It's kind of a lot of rules.
Well, it's also reflecting the hand of the maker. Anybody can buy something that's perfectly symmetrical these days, so having a little bit of your own stamp on it, I think.
Probably is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do you attach the cord to this thing?
Oh, that's
Beautiful
easy.
thing.
Super easy. You take your cord and pull it in half on each side. Put this through. Put the little pewter spacer through those two. And I usually do a little twist to help them through.
Yeah, sometimes it's trickier. You can also cut your cord on the diagonal a little bit. It looks like you did. Makes it easier to go through too.
You can knot this piece if you want. Like I guess it's an overhand knot. Would you call it that?
Definitely. But we can't see it right there.
It's a cotton cording. I prefer using cotton cording just because the necklaces I've made with leather, and I love leather, but I've found that they don't wear for as long for some reason. Maybe I don't know, maybe it's the moisture or something, but I've had them break, and I haven't had cotton break on me. I'm not sure if that's why that is, but I prefer it. I know that there's a lot of people that really love using leather.
So you could if you want to.
You could easily use that. It works just fine. And then for the closing part, I like to do an adjustable knot, and that goes like this. I don't know what the name of it. What is that called, Katie? You know all the technical names for making these.
Oh, the sliding knot? Is that what you're doing? Yeah.
Sliding knot.
So it's a half knot basically in each direction.
Right. Sometimes you can
go really slow. Go really slow. Go slow, slow. Okay. So you want to make sure that your cord is pointing back in the direction of your necklace. That's what makes it slide, right?
Yeah. I do not like it. Some people will put it where the cord is facing like this, like the opposite way. So I like it to kind of flow this way, like this, so that it's pointing downward.
And you do not glue it so that it will slide.
No, I don't glue it.
Okay.
It seems to stay. I make necklaces like this and they don't come apart. If you put the end towards this way, I feel like they do pop up. They can pop off.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
but this to me seems like the most.
That's
So
such
that
a
way
useful
things-
knot to know. It's pretty simple once you kind of work out the mechanics of it, but it's useful for so many different things. Nice. Beautiful.
Yeah, see, I told you it was fast and easy, and I love
Was
making
fast.
these little giblets. I make
I think
them all the
everyone's going to
time.
have so much fun with that. And you could use any beads you like after you try this example. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Cynthia, and thanks for all you do to support Beads of Courage.
Thank you. That was a fun
I'm
project.
happy to.
Good job, Cynthia. Good job.
Thank you.
Way to go. Way to go.
That was so
Everyone's
great.
concentrating.
Yeah. So Katie, as part of our wrap up, we also have our raffle.
Yay for
So,
raffles.
those of you that, if this is your first event, and if you're returning, everyone received an extra bead in their box, a Beads of Courage bead. So we do raffle Beads of Courage style. So we're gonna have 5 raffle winners. And this show, we are going to send all of the winners a discount code to go shop the Beads of Courage shop to support. So you'll get a certificate to go to our shop and you can get a shirt. You could get maybe some carry bead kits. Everyone will get a $30 shop to support gift card to Beads of Courage.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I'm going to draw the first raffle. Great. Who got an Act of Courage bead in their box? Anyone?
I do. Oh, I have the courage. I don't have active courage. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So it looks like this. It's packaged. It's a it will be a handmade glass bead, and the Act of Courage bead in the Beads of Courage program are beads donated from glass artists, and they're given for tough treatment days. So it's a little education as well. Heidi, let's mute. I don't know if that was okay. Heidi, what did you win? I wasn't sure. Heidi Martin. Okay. Well, if there's no winners, we'll probably send out an email because maybe they're not with us today. The next raffle bead is a polymer ladybug bead. Does anyone have this in their box?
So cute.
Oh, great. Let me write that down. Can you drop your name in the chat so I can grab it? Great. And so this is a great education. We're now, we have some polymer clay bead making kits. And so this is education on that. And these are used in the program as members' choice. The first bead was Act of Courage. So if you're a winner, if you can just drop your name in the chat and I'll grab those and we'll email you after the event today. Who got the feather bead, our new bereavement bead? Did someone get the feather? Great, I'm not seeing, are you, Katie?
Yep. Yes, Katrina
Oh, okay,
has the
great.
feather bead.
Okay, great. Awesome. We have 2 more raffles. Anyone get the zebra bead? The zebra bead is another raffle bead, and this is a new bead that we created this year and dedicated on Rare Disease Day. So Beads of Courage is also supporting a lot of children with rare conditions, and we partnered with NORD, which is the National Organization for Rare Diseases, and the zebra is kind of their mascot for children with rare disease. So this was a really awesome bead for us to make this year to recognize the courage of all the children out there living with rare diseases. So if you got the zebra, if you can drop your name in the chat. And then our last raffle bead is another polymer bead from one of our polymer bead making kits. It's the Saguaro, which we have lots here in Arizona, in Southern Arizona. All
All
right,
right, Sharon.
that's so great. Great, wonderful. I'll grab everybody's names from the chat and we'll follow up with you tomorrow by email with your discount.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Jean.
Yeah,
Do
thank
you
you.
wanna
I love
do a-
shopping in the Beads of Courage store.
Do you want to do another raffle? I have these wooden components that we make. And the first person to comment in the comment section of the Zoom video, if you know how many regions Beads of Courage split into, so you had to be paying attention at the beginning.
It's lighting up over
There.
there.
Goody, 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 goody. You'll win these wooden components.
Thank you, Andrew.
Oh, that's so nice, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's Denise is the winner. It's 3, right?
Yes, it's 3.
It's 3,
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for that impromptu Beads of Courage test, Andrew. That was great.
Yeah. Pop quiz. Woo!
Katie, we had talked about a necklace. I had a necklace that I was gonna,
Oh, yes.
Yes, we did. Yeah, your necklace is
thank you,
beautiful.
Tracy.
Yeah, thank you
Yes.
for donating that.
do
Thank you
have
for
a-
reminding us.
do you have a picture of it, Katie? Because I don't, I have the necklace right here though.
That's even better.
Yeah.
I have a question, Jean. For
Hmm.
or we can.
I have this pretty necklace that I'm
I
kind of
love that.
donating to Beads of Courage to do with what as they will. So Katie and I talked about it being a prize for this.
Yeah, that is so pretty. I love it. It has a dragonfly. So
It
it's
has the Luna moth
Luna moth. Yeah,
Luna
that's
moth.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so great.
with some gemstones and some silk ribbon and yeah.
That is really pretty. Maybe we should do a birthday prize.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Whoever has the next birthday.
Closest birthday to today.
Mhm.
Can't go backwards. Katie,
Can't
you're
go backwards. I would have gotten it last week.
Oh.
Oh wait, no, let's rearrange the rules. No, I'm just kidding.
some birthdays.
So does anybody have a birthday still in August? No.
September. We got a September 29th.
September 28th. Anybody have a birthday before September 28th?
That's fun.
I do, but I don't put the other person.
Okay.
I'm September 25th, y'all. In case
Ooh.
you want to get me anything.
We'll light up your Facebook on September 25th.
So it looks like it's Heather.
When is Heather's birthday? Oh, September 28th.
Heather,
Yeah.
September 28th.
Hey,
Whoa,
Yeah.
happy
Great.
birthday.
Happy
Heather.
birthday, Heather. Okay, well, thank you all so much. It's always kind of wild and woolly, which is exactly how we like it. Thank you for rolling along with us today. If you have any questions, you can email me afterward. My email is katie@katiehacker.com.